All right, joining us tonight on Reality Check, we have with us Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, who's Tamil Nadu Health Secretary, is with us. Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, Director General of CSIR, is on the show, as is K. Sujata Rao, former Secretary of Health, Government of India, and Dr. Rachna Kucheria, who's an epidemiologist and also in the field of public health. Thank you all so much for joining us and patiently sitting through our ground report. Dr. Radhakrishnan, now, obviously, the report was from Uttar Pradesh. Tamil Nadu, some would argue, has a much better ground level backbone of delivering public health. But at the same time, so the numbers seem huge, because if you're going to continue to do routine immunization, and on top of that you're scaling up to do coronavirus vaccines, that's almost 14 to 15 times as many. Isn't that going to be tough?
Definitely, these are all tough targets for us. But frankly, if you look at, they have given a very clear communications. They have been giving. We have got a national committee which is guiding us, and we have 3-level committees. You have a state-level committee at the level of Chief Secretary, and one at the level of the Secretary Health, and then district and block committees. So we have to plan. Instead of looking at it a whole number, if you break it up and say that the first target is going to be the frontline worker, then health worker and the frontline worker, then people above the age of 50 and those with comorbidity. The real challenge will come only with the when we come to the general population.
Yes.
Already states like Tamil Nadu, based on almost 7 to 8 communications Government of India has given, we have developed additional walk-in coolers in 51 places where we can store them. Then we have augmented the facilities with regard to the cold chain points, the next points, around 2,688
you
points.
You already started doing that.
Now we are looking at the logistics. It's not just the number and the place where we have to store, but also develop the vaccinators and ensure that ultimately we have to look at 47,000 points where we'll have to do.
47,000.
Perhaps the other example where that number
47,000 points.
And we used to do. So it's an ongoing exercise. We are continuously in touch with Government of India. Based on their advice, we are bringing back issues to them, where we will get these vaccine, how many numbers, at what frequency. Accordingly, we are developing. And they also given, we have to look at a site, maybe 100 at a point. Vaccinators we have to train, and that number of people. So it's basically
a very
challenging exercise. It's a very
it's quite challenging
kind of thing where we are in constant touch with
let me just go to
officials and the officials in the health ministry.
Right.
And the state is also constantly continuing meeting with the district officials on that.
It's quite challenging. Let me just come back to you in a second.
Various campaigns will stand in good stead. Having said that, we have to constantly keep looking at the challenges which I think the UP example has shown.
Okay, let me just come back to you in a second. You are saying that you are, it is challenging, but you are gearing up. But Dr. Shekhar C. Mande, now CSIR is on a slightly different tangent to this. That is, you are also amongst those that are developing vaccines, if I am not mistaken. But the key thing, whether you are vaccinating or you are trying to rope in people for trials, is to do public literacy. Are people aware enough about the importance of this vaccine? Because one of the things we are hearing, Dr. Mande, is that you are not getting enough people opting in for vaccine trials. There's a high amount of people, opting out. Are you facing that problem as well?
Not as of now. So we haven't, CSR hasn't started any vaccine trial with in collaboration with any company yet. We have started many of the repurposing drug trials.
Right.
And we haven't faced the issue of people opting out. So our numbers are pretty comfortable.
Right.
And the hospitals that we have tied up are also very well-known hospitals. So that also gives confidence to people who are enrolling for the trials that they know what they are getting into. So I don't think we have had any problem as far as the people are concerned in the trial.
No, because we've been reporting on how in AIIMS they're saying there's almost a 70 to 80% refusal rate for participating in the Covaxin trial. That's a very high number.
Yeah, well, I'm not aware of that because we are not involved in that particular trial.
Of course.
As I said, we are involved in repurposing drug trials and they are going pretty well.
Oh, okay. That's good. But the question still remains, Sujata Rao, that, that the government's confidence aside, you've been Health Secretary, you know what the ground reality is. Is this something we can really pull off, that we're doing about 2 crore a year in the current immunization program? We want to ramp up to 30 crore in less than a year for coronavirus vaccines.
You know, Vasu, it's a very, very tough job. It's not so simple as to say that we can do it, but we can do it. It all depends on the designing of the program. And what do I mean by that? Is that, the more decentralized, as it is, we have an excellent immunization program. We have a very decentralized approach, right down to the village level. We get the women and children, and they're doing the universal immunization program. And that's very well settled in. So building on the back of that, it will be a possibility, and that capacity is there. But the thing is that will they be able to get the adequate infrastructure, backup infrastructure in time? That is a question. And, it requires a lot of logistical planning, micro planning to the last detail, and which also means involving several actors within the district, not just only the health department. By themselves, they cannot do it. They must involve the community, the NGOs, the civil society, and those kind of committees, sensitization committees, training, education, that kind of stuff will
so
be
it's
very,
quite
very
a lot, right? It's quite a lot
of work.
Okay.
And what I fear is, I just have concern, and that is why I am quite confident that the UIP program won't get affected. But this will require so much of attention from the district magistrate down the line of the health department, and diversion of energies to get this going, that I'm afraid other programs may get impacted.
Right, it could impact. Okay,
slice it and take it in bits, it's possible.
Okay. Dr. Rachna Kucheria, as someone who's in the field of public health, that as I was pointing out, that the key thing, of course, is for people to be aware of this, the fact that this vaccine is coming, and then opt in. From what you're hearing and seeing, is that kind of ground awareness being created, or is that there's still a lot of work to be done?
I think there's a lot of work to be done still. I've also read the Government of India documents, the planning documents that have gone to the states, etc. But I think all of this, the micro planning that many of the speakers before me spoke about, that is starting to happen. More about the vaccine, what people can expect, what is the benefit that they're going to expect, what sort of side effects will they see. All that communication needs to happen to the public in a much more transparent fashion, and not just passively. I think public debate needs to be engaged. That needs to happen so that the confidence goes up, of the person who's going to receive the vaccine, and this includes healthcare workers as well. So I think a lot more needs to be done on that level, and not just the government. I think it's trying to heavily involve the private sector, the independent bodies, all of them, so that there's a robust mechanism with what the government is planning to do, and one can, all the other bodies can both be supportive, as well as or as well as be sort of independently monitoring what's going on at the ground level as well, which I think will only serve to increase the confidence of the people. So I think that we could do much more communication.
One thing Dr. Radhakrishnan, which came out in the Uttar Pradesh report, I'm not sure what is the story in Tamil Nadu, was the fact that we do not have, at least in Uttar Pradesh, the capacity is only to go up to 2 to 8 degrees centigrade of vaccines that we can store, which means, as we pointed out in our report, that not only rules out the Pfizer vaccine, but also the Moderna vaccine, which requires, I believe, minus 20 to 25 degrees storage. You can only do Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute in the 2 to 8 range. Is that the same in Tamil Nadu as well, or do you have capacity to transport even these other vaccines which require sub-zero temperatures, like Moderna?
Basically, every state will have a similar kind of situation, but Tamil Nadu definitely, 2 to 8 degrees storing capacity is there, and Tamil Nadu Medical Service Corporation actually augmented the district level capacity by putting in 51 walk-in coolers. Various kinds of vaccines are coming, various kinds of vaccines.
Below 2 to 8, that's what I'm asking. Can you go below? Can you go minus 20 to 25?
Definitely that is going to be a challenge. We'll have to ensure that they get purchased. So these will be the limitation. This is national, I think this group which is working on it will work on us. And these, again the challenge, where it is going to be delivered, whether it's going to be delivered at the state capital or a district level, and how do we transport it back to the 2,600, 800, 2,000, almost 2,800 points are issues which we'll keep discussing. So logistics is one part which we are working on a constant basis with government.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Radhakrishnan, can I ask you? Yeah, but can I ask you that to build up capacity, you obviously need funds. Are you expected to fund all this yourself as a state, or are you also getting money from the center?
See, center has always supported this universal immunization program in a full way. So these are policy issues, but you must be aware that Honorable CM has said even we'll vaccinate everybody. So as far as COVID is concerned, there has never been a limitation given by the state government to us with regard to building up of infrastructure. So that aspect they will take care. But definitely these are issues where we would need additional ice and refrigerators, those support and all. So these nitty-gritties we will definitely be working in. But I am equally concerned about the other point which Madam Sujata and the other panelists spoke. We really need to actively involve, otherwise like rotavirus, the rumors come up and the willingness of people to come in to take vaccination. These are the challenges which the district block committees and the state committees are also parallelly addressing.
Okay. Dr. Mande, about this point that we don't seem to have the capacity, because initially we were told that we have the capacity to go to at least -20 to -25, which means we can purchase and store and transport the Moderna vaccine, though we may not be able to do Pfizer, which is -70, but now we may not even be able to do Moderna. It's only 2 to 8. So is that a problem? It limits the type of vaccines we can buy and distribute?
No. So let us be clear that Pfizer, when it did all the testings and clinical trials in the US, Pfizer did not seek any public support from the US government, right?
Right.
And Pfizer is a huge company, it's a giant, pharmaceutical giant, and obviously they have a strategy of bringing the vaccine. Now the fact that Pfizer has approached the Indian regulator for approval, that means Pfizer has a strategy in India. Obviously they are not banking upon something that they are not aware of. It's a fairly big company, a very large company, and their business strategy is pretty well worked out. Although we don't know, I mean you and I don't know what the business strategy would be about the distribution of vaccine and all. So let us trust Pfizer that they will do it.
Okay.
Now, as regards Moderna till today has not announced any India strategy yet. I don't think they have partnered with anyone in India, but Moderna vaccine they have gone public saying that it's stable for 6 months at -20 and for 30 days between 2 to 8. Now that's a good news, because even 30 days for 2 to 8, actually it's a good thing if Moderna were to come to India, it can be transported and effectively delivered at the points where it will be delivered. And the other two, of course, we have talked about, so we don't need to worry too much about the other two.
Okay, so you're saying Pfizer, okay, so Pfizer itself may have some kind of solution to this, but Sujata Rao, I mean, is that again possible that pharmaceutical companies on their own can provide that kind of highly specialized and sensitive cold chains to transport millions of vaccines? How will they do that without the government?
No. I mean, if at all Pfizer comes on its own and tries to sell, it will be to the very high-end market who will be able to afford their price. And, there may be in some urban pockets of Bombay or Delhi which has that kind of cold capacity and all that, but not in the national immunization program. I will be immensely surprised if Pfizer or Moderna were to enter it. I think the best bet for us is to depend on our own Indian manufacturing companies, biotech and serum. I think we have an excellent manufacturing capacity of high quality. They'll be much cheaper, affordable, and they'll also be able to produce a vaccine which is technically feasible and sustainable.
Right.
There's no point in running around Pfizer's and Moderna's, and if at all they come, they may. But the point is that WHO has an understanding with all companies that every company, when they manufacture vaccine, they will contribute to the general pool, so that it's not all knocked off by the Western developed countries. There is some measure of equity that WHO tries to achieve through this pooling mechanism of distributing these vaccines to the rest of the world.
Right.
Now, under that, Pfizer may be providing vaccines to that WHO pool, which in turn may give us some thousands or a million or some millions of doses to us. But then the point is, if we don't have the capacity for
Right.
storage, it is not going to be feasible, and the price is yet to be, to analyze.
Figured out.
Pfizer
Okay.
never agreed to give technology transfer. So these are a lot of IPR issues, lot of issues are there.
Which
It's
still
not
need
as
to be
simple-
resolved. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So, okay. So right. So our best bet, as you said, are the ones that are being developed here. But as we run out of time, very quickly, Dr. Kucheria, one thing that just struck me, and Meher, in fact, our reporter was talking to me about this, are basic things like power cuts, power outages, very prevalent all over India, but particularly in the hinterland. That's a problem.
Right.
Yes, when you want to run storage and freezers.
Right, that will be a problem, and I believe the government and the state and down to the block level, they are planning contingency for that.
Okay.
But one thing that I will add here is, although all the plans are there, we've had plans for many things in the past. This is the time, I would like to say, is the time to roll up our sleeves and perhaps have the flashlights shine on the last mile on the state of our primary care, which differs from state to state.
Right.
There are some that are doing really well and some that are not. So I think for the first time, as a student and a long time public health person, I would like to say that the positive may be that we finally shine the light on many public health issues at the last mile, at the level of primary care that have
Right.
not been dealt with, and piggyback on on what's going to happen with this vaccination
Okay.
drive. Vaccination program will be one of the things, but
Okay.
perhaps piggyback other needs that are required as well.
Okay, just last question to you, Dr. Radhakrishnan. If you were to identify, as you said, there are a host of challenges before you, and we wish you all the very best for it, by the way, and all power to you. But if there's one thing that you would identify as the biggest challenge as you get ready to roll out COVID vaccines, Dr. Radhakrishnan, what would that be?
That perhaps would be the same, taking it to the end point. That would be the main challenge.
Right.
But more than that, including training the vaccinator, ensuring that, syringes and needles, those logistics are something which we cannot wish away.
Right.
Already Tamil Nadu Medical Service Corporation is working very closely on those issues also.
Sure.
It is a whole 360-degree angle we have to look, and probably not, apart from, as and when the DGCA clears these vaccines, Government of India clears, initially we won't feel a challenge because it will be 5 lakh healthcare workers. But then the third stage is where we are going to really face the challenge. We are all going to work up to it. Last 8 months, everybody has been putting their heart and soul,
Right.
and there is no other alternative but in a pandemic to work together,
Okay.
work with everybody. That's what, like one of the panelists was, I really say
Right.
that we will have to work as a team, not
Okay.
individually, and think that only one government alone
sure.
can do this.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll rise to the challenge. It's been great having all of you. We're completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining me on Reality Check. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have on the show. Good night.